So a lot of guys ask me, how do I overcome regret? And I always give the same answer. And this is something that you've even talked about a lot of the decisions you regret. And I would not be a human if I didn't say that I had regrets also. So there's a couple of things here. It can be really, really hard, and I think it can be harder the older that you get to process regret, right? If you're 22 years old and you have some regrets, that's fine. You've still got plenty of time. You're 30, it's way harder. I can't even imagine being 40 and 50 having crazy regrets. So here's the deal. You've got one of two routes that you can go when it comes to dealing with regret. Number one is let it consume you and just give up, right? Like, you feel like a big loser because of all these regrets that you have, then wrap it up. It's time to just, accept your fate as a loser, essentially. Now, if you don't want that to be you, which you shouldn't, you're watching this goddamn fucking channel. If you don't want that to be you, there's two things you got to do. Number one is you have to look at everything that led up to the decisions that you made that you now regret. Whether it was the job that you quit, it was the girl that you left behind, it's the fact that you wasted. This is something I hear constantly, bros. Guys that feel like they've wasted their whole youth. So they thought like, oh, I'm going to do the whole, I'm going to make a lot of money and this and that. And then eventually women are going to come. I'm going to have fun, whatever. Before you know it, you're fucking 33 years old and you barely hooked up in your 20s. You spent so many nights alone. You were not partying. You were not having any fun. So you've wasted your youth. There's a lot of different things that you can fucking regret on this planet. So you have to look at what are all of them and what decisions and outside influences led that to happening. You have to identify how you got to where you're at right now. Then what you have to do is you have to recognize that your past is irrelevant so long as your future is glorious. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As long as your future is fucking glorious, then your past is irrelevant. There are so many stories, all the stories we know of different entrepreneurs where this business failed, that business failed, this one didn't work out, they had to go back to this, and then boom, they started the next business that blew up. We all love those stories. But the truth of the matter is that we've got a lot of guys out here who have actually taken path number one. Most men take path number one where they give up and wrap it up. There are tons of stories of the guy that had two failed businesses and just never had the willpower, the energy, the focus, or the drive to actually create now that glorious future. So the only way that you're ever going to get past any regret in your life is if you eventually succeed. And the way that you eventually succeed is by doing step one, which is, again, looking at everything that you were doing. What were you eating? Who were you hanging out with? Where did you live? What types of girls were you dating? Were you dating at all? Looking at everything you did wrong and now recognizing that you now have actually the blessing of a blueprint and a clear-cut path to having the success and the glory, because now you know the path, which is do the opposite of all of those things that you regret and that have basically destroyed your life up to this point.